see him. Yeah. Were you able to shrug him off easily enough?
Good morning and welcome to the 2025 Remembrance Day commemorations. Very shortly, in preparation for the arrival of Her Excellency here at ANZAC Square, I would ask those people who have been invited to join our invitees here today, if you could please start making your way towards your seats. For those that may be over just refreshing and rehydrating, it might be time to step away from the bar and come out and watch on the big screens. Her Excellency is only a few moments away, but it's now an appropriate time that if you have brought your mobile phone today, if you could please turn it off. I don't want you to be that person that has the Barbie girl ringtone go off in the middle of the ceremony, or perhaps a bit of AC/DC. Please turn those phones off. The world will still go on and will still rotate while you have your phone turned off for the next 30 minutes or so. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please be upstanding for the arrival of Her Excellency the Honourable Dr. Jeanette Young, and Governor of Queensland, and Professor Graham Nimmo. Would you please remain standing as the Catapult Party, represented by the Australian Army 2nd 14th Light Horse Regiment, the Queensland Mounted Infantry, mount the shrine. Thank you. For those of you who have a seat, please be seated. Good morning and welcome to Brisbane's 2025 Remembrance Day Ceremony here at ANZAC Square. My name is Darren Curtis and I'll be your MC for this particular ceremonial occasion. I begin today, and it's appropriate, to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, air and water on where we meet, the Turrbal and Yuggera people. We acknowledge their elders, past, present, emerging. We welcome all First Nations people and those from the Torres Strait Islands, but also people of all faith, religions, cultures and beliefs. Because in Australia we are the envy of the world at the moment. We are able to exist in complete harmony. We can have differences of opinion, but we can gather here today in peace and show the respect to those who have gone before us. I'd like to welcome those who are watching us on live stream, not only in Australia but around the world. Also to the people that are positioned down on ANZAC Square, that are watching us there on the big screens, and the people here in Ann Street that have stepped out from their offices to come into the city today and watch as well again on the big screens around the square here today. Thank you very much. It's wonderful to see such renewed enthusiasm for this particular ceremonial event. I'd like to welcome Her Excellency the Honourable Dr. Jeanette Young, Governor of Queensland, and Professor Graham Nimmo. The Honourable David Crisafulli MP, Premier of Queensland and Minister for Veterans. The Honourable Stephen Miles MP, the Leader of the Opposition. Brisbane Lord Mayor, Adrian Schrinner. Ms Madonna Jarrett MP, the Federal Member for Brisbane. Mr Bart Mellish MP, the Shadow Minister for Transport and Main Roads, also the Shadow Minister for Veterans and the Member for Aspley. The Ambassador of the European Union, His Excellency Dr Gabrielle Bisseton, representing the heads of mission delegation. The Dean of the Consular Corps in the State of Queensland, Mr Andreas Arrow. Members of the Queensland Emergency Services, elected officials and representatives from consulates and ex-service organisations. And importantly, all of our veterans that are here today, either in uniform or in plain clothes, and their families. We appreciate you all for joining us for this particular ceremony here in 2025. Today marks 107 years since the guns fell silent on the Western Front, signalling the end of the First World War. We continue the tradition of gathering on the 11th of November at the 11th hour and join together in honouring all of those who have lost their lives in service, whether in times of war, peace, or peacekeeping and training operations. Shortly, at 11 a.m. precisely, we'll pause in silence to remember the sacrifices that so many have made so that we can enjoy the great existence that we do here in Australia today. By doing this, we will continue the honour and the legacy of those who served and have passed this tradition on to the next generations. Firstly, I'd like to invite RSL Queensland State President, Major General Stephen Day, DSC AM, to make his welcoming address.
In war, everyone gives something. Some give everything. We gather this morning to remember those who gave everything, our fallen. At times, our losses have been painful. By the end of the First World War, around 10% of the adult Australian male population had either been killed or wounded. No family, no community was untouched. It can be difficult today to know how best to honour our fallen. We have memorials in every town of this great state of ours, the splendid one right here. But there is another memorial, just as important. Us and how we live our lives. The memorial that our fallen would wish for. Great nations are great, not purely because of their size or their wealth, but because of their national character, our character. We can, if we choose to, continue to build our communities, our country. That is an example for anyone who cares to notice, in freedom, a fair go, and honest hard work. That, I believe, would be a good way for us to remember and honour our fallen, lest we forget.
Thank you, Major General. Another tradition that we continue every year is the wearing of poppies. The origins of this trace back, of course, to World War I, to the battlefields, wherein through all the mud, the grime, the terrible things that they saw on those battlefields, the red poppies grew and became synonymous of not only the sacrifice, but also representing the blood that was shed in those particular fields. Today we wear this poppy as an enduring reminder of those who served and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. I'd now like to invite Estira Job, who was a student recipient of the 2025 Premier's ANZAC Prize. Each year, the Premier of Queensland selects high school students, teachers, and allows them the opportunity to explore the ANZAC legacy in depth. They tour the battlefields of Europe. They learn. They have to do research projects. It's part of the ongoing tradition of making sure the sacrifice and the honour of that is continued. Estira will now recite the poem In Flanders Fields.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw. The torch, be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.
Thank you, Estira. We're joined today by the Royal Australian Navy Band in Queensland, and able seaman Mark Jovanovic will now lead us through the hymn, Vow to the Young Country.
All earthly things above, entire and whole and perfect, the service of my love, the love that asks no questions, the love that stands the test, that lays upon the altar the dearest and the
Where possible, please take your seats. Another of our great traditions around these particular ceremonies is the laying of wreaths and floral tributes. They're very significant moments. And I will ask our official wreath layers to come forward and lay their wreaths at the foot of the shrine, the eternal flame. Our representatives of our ex-service associations will then lay their wreaths at the foot of the shrine here on the front steps. At the end of the ceremony, I would ask members of the public that if you have your own floral tributes, wreaths, mementos or tokens, to come forward and also lay those on the stairs here in front of the shrine. Our following VIPs will now lay their wreaths inside the shrine, pause for a moment of reflection and then return to their seats. Her Excellency, the Honourable Dr. Jeanette Young, Governor of Queensland, and Professor Graham Nimmo. The Premier of Queensland and Minister for Veterans, the Honourable David Crisafulli, MP. RSL Queensland State President Major General Stephen Day, accompanied by 2025 Premiers ANZAC Prize recipients Estira Job and Saxon Miller. Leader of the State Opposition, the Honourable Stephen Miles, MP. The Honourable Lord Mayor of Brisbane, Mr. Adrian Schrinner. The Federal Member for Brisbane, Ms. Madonna Jarrett, MP. The Shadow Minister for Veterans, Mr. Bart Mellish, MP. I would now like to ask our Defence Force representatives here today to lay their wreaths together. Representing the Australian Navy, Commander Rosemary Ampakatodra, Colonel Roland Spackman, CSC, representing the Australian Army, and Air Commodore Robert Graham, representing the Royal Australian Air Force. Ambassador of the European Union, His Excellency Mr Gabriel Vicentin, representing the heads of mission delegation, and Dean of the Consular Corps, Mr Andreas Aurore, representing the Consular Corps in the state of Queensland. Mr Quinton Masson, DSM, representing the Queensland Veterans Council. Representing Queensland Emergency Services, Assistant Commissioner Glenn Morris, representing the Queensland Police Service, Assistant Commissioner Metro North, Tony Armstrong, Simon Dunn, representing the Queensland Ambulance Service, and Deputy Chief Officer John Welke, representing the Queensland Fire Department. Deputy Commissioner Tara Hatzamalis, representing the Department of Veterans Affairs. Commissioner of St John Ambulance Australia, Queensland, Mr Raymond Thurlow. State Director, Queensland State Officer of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Ms Trudy McGowan, OAM. We will now pause the wreath laying so that we truly reflect at 11 a.m. the significant moment of dignity and respect that we will pay our veterans. I ask that if you're able to, Would you please stand for the reading of the ode, recited by RSL Queensland State President, Major General Stephen Day, which will be followed by the last post, a minute's sacred silence, and then Reveille.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.
Thank you. You may resume your seats. those of you who are up here on the top level of the shrine on Ann Street, I'll give you a snapshot looking down onto the ANZAC Square. Most patches of grass are filled with people that have left their offices today to come out. They've lined the walkways around ANZAC Square. People have stopped here in Ann Street. We even heard the hush of the traffic for a little while. In a very busy city of Brisbane, it's wonderful to see that people can pause and just reflect for a few short moments and give such incredible respect to those that have enabled us to live this wonderful life that we do here in Queensland. I'd like to resume the wreath laying. The following guests, if you could please leave your wreaths and tributes on the steps here in front of the shrine. Mr. Mike Harris and Ms. Teresa Poco, representing the Australian American Association, Brisbane. Mr. Graham Goff and Mr. Jeff McLean, representing the Australian Commando Association, Queensland. Mr. Tony Young and Mr. Michael O'Malley, representing the Australian Special Air Service Association, Queensland, and Mrs. Judy Smith, representing the Australian War Widows, Queensland. Mr. Kevin Spink, representing the British Ex-Services Association, Queensland. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Kevin Humphreys, representing Corps Infinitus. And Mr. Harry Mee and his son, representing the Defence Force Welfare Association. Mr. Brendan Cox, representing Legacy Brisbane. Ms. Margaret Dean, representing the Naval Association of Australia. Ms. Wendy Griggs, Council of Ex-Service Women's Association, Queensland. Ms. Susan Brooke, Department of Education. Mr. Richard Cohen, Consul General, British Consulate. And Mr. Greg Ivey, PIB, NGIB, Headquarters, PIR Association. Ms. Nikki Daly, representing Open Arms, the Veterans and Families Counselling Service. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Philip Bourne, representing the Royal Marines Association, Australia. Mr Brian Mathieu, representing the Submariners Association Australia. Mr Sean Mulqueen, OAM, representing the 42 for 42 Afghanistan War Memorial Garden. Mr Lawrence Watts, representing the Australian Light Horse Society, and Mr Kim Fleur, representing the Australian Light Horse Association, and Mr Mark O'Reilly, representing the Sappers Association, Queensland. Representing Navy Women Queensland, President Barb Jeffries. Thank you to all of those who have laid wreaths and tributes here this morning. As I said at the start of the ceremony, when we conclude this morning, we encourage you to please come forward and lay your own wreaths and personal tributes here on the steps of the shrine. I'd now like to invite Chaplain Joanna Colgan to lead us in prayer and in memory of all of those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Holy and loving one, we gather to remember those who left family and friends behind, but held them in their hearts as they fulfilled their call to duty and travelled afar to face the perils and fears that awaited them in war. For those who died and for those who returned bearing witness to the horror of war, we hold in our hearts with thanksgiving their sacrifice for the freedoms that we enjoy today. For those who serve our nation now, may we draw strength and courage from our comrades who have gone before us, always hoping for enduring peace for all humanity. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. And for those who can, could you please be upstanding now for the Australian National Anthem led by the Royal Australian Navy Band, Queensland.
Australians, oh let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you for those that have been here today in person, those who have joined us online, to honour the sacrifice and the service of those who went before us and gave so much for their country. Today you will still see some people around the city selling legacy pins, selling RSL badges. If you do have a moment, if you could pause, perhaps throw a few coins in, perhaps buy a badge. It'll make a difference to providing those services to veterans for many years to come. I also ask that at the conclusion of the ceremony you come forward and take photos of the wonderful floral tributes that are here. Share them with children, share them with your family members, because we need the next generations to continue this legacy, to make sure that sacrifice is never forgotten. Will you please remain standing as the catafalque party now dismounts the shrine. Her Excellency the Governor of Queensland and Professor Nimmo will now depart the ceremony. This now concludes our service for today. I'd like to take a moment to pause and congratulate RSL Queensland on the way that they have provided this service today. It's been absolutely outstanding. I don't think there would be anybody within the crowd that could not get a good vantage point thanks to the wonderful provision of the TVs here, and the access has been wonderful. I was here in the city through the weekend, and the number of people that were in here for the activation to place a poppy on the grills that mount and surround the shrine here down on ANZAC Square was absolutely amazing. There were kids, mums and dads, retirees, even visitors. And fortunately, this was also a pick-up point for a large number of people heading out to the Gabba for the cricket. I've never seen more Indian spectators and fans down in the ANZAC Square, and many of them grabbed a poppy and paid their respects as well. So it's wonderful to see. The RSL have done a fantastic job in reinvigorating this ceremony. And also, if you've been in here at night in the lead up to today, you would have seen the fantastic visual display that's on the sandstone walls. I encourage you, if you haven't seen it, to please drop in next year and have a look at what the RSL have done to raise awareness of this particular ceremony today. If you do have time to stay in the city, don't forget the galleries underneath the shrine are also open, where you can learn and see some incredible history of what our war veterans have done. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. Thank you for being so considerate and standing in the sun for so long. We do appreciate it. And the fact that you have turned out today to honour that sacrifice and the service is absolutely wonderful. Hopefully we'll see you all again next year. Ladies and gentlemen, can I just remind you, for those that are exiting the ceremony on Ann Street, just be aware it will be open up to the public very shortly, and there will be cars and buses moving through this area. So just please be aware that you just don't step out blindly onto the footpath at the moment.